5,800 years ago, in that area. Okay? 5,764. Actually, I lose track of it.
5768.
68. Oh gosh, look at that. 68. I'm getting old. 5,768. Fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you. It may have occurred just then. People say that's when the atom was created, the universe happened before then, into that. But we're looking at a finite amount of time, not so long ago, that the universe was created. Now that's according to many Torah sources. How is that possible? Because, as cosmologists say, it's about 15 billion and change. That's what we call a discrepancy. If you went to the Costco, you said a difference in the price on an object of $5,768 versus $15 billion, then that's, you'd have to call the manager. That's fair, right? That's fair. Right. So, how do we do that? So, two classic reconciliations that are brought. The first is the simplest, easiest to understand, and as such, it's often the one that's wrong. It's one that the sages don't necessarily wrap themselves around with wholeheartedly, but it's still accepted. It's accepted as a strong possibility. And that's as follows. Is it 5,768 is the time period from human beings at seventh day. Seventh day until now is this many years. Now the first 7 days, 1 through 7 days, there are no human beings around. It's not measured in human time, it's measured in God time. What is God time and how can they be different? So there are two things. One is, according to our sources, Rabbi Min Deyo, writing in the 1300s, he says, from quoting a Passaic, a sentence in Psalms, the book of Psalms, he says that, and one day is like 1,000 of our years. There's an equivalence set up between a year of God, or one day of God, is equal to 1,000 of our years. That means 1 year of God's equal to 365,250 of our years. Got it? Now, according to another one, Rabbi Livnei Sapir, again in the 1300s, he says that really there were several different eras or epochs before this one in which we're in. This Earth is not the first Earth per se, in terms of its life. There are other epochs upon the Earth which we don't recall, but are buried within the mantle of the Earth's core. That's where you start talking about dinosaurs. According to his understanding, that we are in the seventh. We've just started the seventh of the 7 cycles. There are 49,000 years in all the cycles, so we're at the 42,000th year. That's his belief, and he wrote that in the 1300s. So 42,000 years, God years, have passed, yeah, up until this point. So 42,000 God years is equal to 42,000 times 365,250, and then actually that calculation again in the 1300s, yeah, no later. Now we're doing this in response to dinosaur, the 1300s. 42,000 times 365,250 is equal to 15,340,000,000 years. And that's his calculation of the ancient universe. Great. Works out well. According to a great book written by a professor at Bar-Ilan called In the Beginning, a very normative, clean, conservative treatment of the subject, he says that these 7 days, these 6 days before us, which human beings weren't around, these were epochs of time. They weren't days, as can be clearly demonstrated by the following idea, is that on the 4th day, the sun was created. So on the 4th day the sun was created, what constitutes the 2nd day? Isn't a day the rotation of the earth once around its axis, where it has light from the sun and then darkness? If there's no sun, what is a day? Clearly it can't be the day that we understand. It's actually a day which is something else. What's a day? He says, read the book, he'll tell you. V'hi erev v'hi boker yom echad. It was evening and it was morning one day. Okay. What's one day? Erev means to mix up. it means evening, but it really means is in eruv, is to mix up a geometric set of forms, and that which is indistinguishable. That's why when you look at it at night, you can't see things. They're all mixed up into one big mess. That's why it's called evening, because they're all mixed up. The word eruv, though, means mixing up a formally distinct set of geometric forms. Right? That's why in eruv in a community, all these separate domains were individual helms. When you make an eruv, it's all one domain where you can carry one place to another. Got it? What's boker? Boker means a reclarifying of geometric forms that were previously mixed up. So, what's a day? A period of time of undetermined length marked by a mixing up of geometric forms and then a recasting of geometric forms into specific things that are now recognizable. That's called a day. How long is it? No idea. Could it be a couple billion years? Sure. Could it be 2 weeks? No problem. But it's a concept of a day, not a time of a day. So there were 7 of these puppies in God's universe. That's the 42,000 altogether. And then followed by 5,768 years. That's ours. Everyone clear? That's the cleanest perspective that you can find. But it's not one that everyone holds to. It's not the favorite of them.
No.
The favorite is one which suggests that the days back then were actually 24-hour days. And that's a more complicated presentation. It has to do with the following. If you measure, again, thinking of God time versus Earth versus human time. So human time, things measures we do. A day is a day. Now, God time, let's say I'm like a magician and I have a rabbit, right? Yeah? And also I'm pulling the rabbit out of the hat. So as the rabbit comes out of the hat, what am I doing? I'm like receding back at the cusp of this new thing. Agreed? So what's my perspective? I'm at the event horizon of this newly expanding entity that's being created. See that? That's my perspective. It's a global perspective. Excuse me. One second.
Amen.
I was playing with my little girl a couple nights ago and throwing her on the bed. She loves that. And I whacked my lip and tongue against her knee, and I bit through my tongue. So my tongue is was like. So I'm sorry, my mouth's a little dry. But if ever that happens, don't worry. There's so many blood vessels in the tongue that it heals right away. I was going online like at 11 o'clock with my mouth full of blood. Tongue injury. I went to the hospital with pain, but it's healing. The next day later, it's all sealed in one spot. One spot's still off, but that's the way about it. Any oral surgeons here? Okay. If you don't ask, come teach a class, you never know. So back to where we are here. According to that receding perspective of the magician, let's call that God as his universe is now expanding. So if you look at the expansion of the universe in the epochal layer near the speed of light, so if you put a clock on the cusp of that expanding space, how much time will that clock read after the expansion is continued? Meaning, I'm at the beginning of space. Now space is expanding. I put a clock on the cusp of that expanding space. Now, at the center of the space, at the black hole, the measurement is one thing. It's not moving, right? At the expanding cusp of space moving, what is that clock reading? Any idea?
Less time, it's going faster.
Less time, it's going faster. The classic experiment. Time is actually a physical entity. It's a cousin of space. They're the same kind of. They're all the same family.
Space-time.
Space-time, correct. We have a misnomer of thinking time and space are different. It's not true. They're highly related. So in this context, when you put, as they did in the early 80s, they put about a dozen clocks, the atomic clocks that have been concert to the nanosecond for a number of years. They put 6 of them on a Blackbird SR-71 and went around the globe twice at speed. Not so fast, but hey, Mach 3.2, Mach 3.3, which is the Blackbird's official highest speed.